This is going to be all you motherfuckers this weekend. Every one of you.
And of all the superlatives...
Why is he running like that? Welcome to the DynamiteGizmo podcast, everybody. The UFC Countdown Edition. Every main number event leading up to the actual event itself on the weekend, the DynamiteGizmo podcast will do a UFC Countdown Edition, where we talk about everything and all things UFC, specifically and only about the event. Starting right now. We're starting the new year off right. That's right, folks. I figured I'd give this a shot because I love talking about the UFC as is in general. So why not implement a UFC Countdown Edition of the DynamiteGizmo podcast? I think it's a great idea, and it is going to work out, and it's going to be fan-fucking-tastic, and let's just jump right into this shit. We're going to talk everything and all things only UFC, specifically and only about the event coming up. I see a lot of shows on the internet, a lot of shows related to MMA, related to UFC, but they get sidetracked, they get distracted. They don't specifically and only talk about the event coming up. So that is what I want to do. If there's something going on, we're going to talk about it, dude. We're going to fucking talk about it. And this is going to be fantastic. Now, before we jump into what's going on for UFC 311, let's just go over what is UFC 311. So it's the first main number event of the year. Arman Tsarukyan versus the champion Islam Makhachev. We already know, but there's another title event on the main card. Merab Dvalishvili, and Umar Nurmagomedov. They're also fighting for the belt. It's going to be a crazy moff. You already know. I don't need to tell you. But I need to turn your attention over to this. Before we get into it, at the very end of the episode, I am going to do my fight predictions as normal. But before we even get there, I just want to turn your attention to the screen over here. This is a UFC fight prediction sheet that I create for every main number event. And I put these out on the internet in a Google Drive for anyone to use for free. So if you go to the description right now, you can click that link to go to the Google Drive. You can grab this sheet, print off 1 copy or 16, however many copies you want for you and your friends. So when you guys watch UFC, you guys can use these sheets to vote and predict fights with each other. But we'll get into that at the end of the episode. Let's see what's going on for UFC. So there's been some concerns. There's been some concerns due to the fact that this event is going to be taking place at the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles. This will be the first time the UFC has ever utilized this facility, because I'm pretty sure it might even be a new facility itself, and it's in Inglewood, California. It's supposed to be a pretty fucking cool place. But people are a little concerned about it because of the LA fires. There's been a lot of talk about, is UFC 311 going to get canceled? Is UFC going to get pushed to Las Vegas? Because that's what Dana White was talking about. It might get pushed to Las Vegas. But at this point, if it hasn't been canceled yet, it more than likely is not going to be canceled. Actually, I can pretty much guarantee it's not going to be canceled. And if you look at this map here, this actually shows you where the fires are, or at least were, if they're still going on. So it's all up. It's all up in this area, and this is all forest and mountain regions. Okay, if you look at the Intuit Dome, now mind you, it does look like it might be close to the fire, but it really isn't. This is all city. It's all city. There's no grass. There's nothing. There's nowhere where the fire can spread, really. So it isn't going to get here. Anyway, so there's no possibility. There's even a Wendy's right next to it. There is no possibility, and I fucking mean that. There is no possibility that these fires in Brentwood, in Palisades, they even gave the fire a name, the Palisades Fire. This ain't coming. So you don't have to worry. Take your worry boots off and put them in the trash, because the Intuit Dome's fine, man. The Intuit Dome is fine. I guess one of the main biggest fucking shkaboopies that everyone keeps talking about is Khabib Nurmagomedov getting kicked off the fucking airline on his way to Los Angeles. Khabib got kicked off an airplane, dude. If you haven't seen the video, we'll watch it right now, I guess. I guess we'll watch it, but you've probably already seen it. But I guess we'll watch it.
I'm comfortable with you too, because I know the language, I know the
It's not about the
I know how
language.
to help people, and now you guys, because this woman don't understand, don't understand what she's talking about.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're either gonna have you switch your seat because my flight attendants are not allowing you to sit in the exit row, or you're gonna have to get off this plane and then we'll have to leave it because they're not comfortable with you sitting in the emergency exit row. My flight attendants. And unfortunately, it is fair.
It's not fair.
Yes, it is.
But you guys, when I was making check-in, they asked me, do I know English? Yes, I said.
And they said yes. And I understand that, but it's also off of their judgment. I'm not going to do this back and forth. I will call a supervisor. You can either take a different seat, or we can go ahead and escort you off the plane. Which one are we doing? Okay, I'll call a supervisor, and then we're going to have to rebook you for a different flight.
Go get him.
Josh, do you copy?
And that's the supervisor?
Correct.
Dude, Khabib would crush him. All right, so basically, the kebab. I'm sorry, I won't be disrespectful. He's Khabib. Kebab. He sat on a plane, and it was, what was the airline? Frontier. Okay. He got put in the exit row, the emergency exit row. The fact that he's flying Frontier to begin with probably shows that he's trying to save money, and I guess to save even more money and maybe have a little bit more leg room, he specifically picked the emergency exit row. He knows it's the emergency exit row, and if you listen at the very beginning of the clip, he states this. He's like, I know this is the emergency exit row. I know that I have to help people if we get into an emergency. I'm willing to do this. He says that right at the beginning. We luckily got to hear that, and I'm not replaying it. If you want to hear that, you go back and look yourself. I'm not your fucking grandmother. I'm not holding your hand. I'm not giving you tea. So he says this, but she continues on and says, I don't care. We are uncomfortable with having your dirty fucking Russian Dagestani ass sitting in this seat trying to convince people or convince me that you want to help people get off this plane in case of an emergency. So she kicked him off the plane. She got him out of there. She's like, I don't like filthy Russians, dude. I don't like filthy Russians. Get him out of here. All right, so then Khabib put out his statement on the old X platform, and what does he say? He says, first of all, I need to clarify that it was Fly Frontier, not Alaska Air. Alaska Air, you guys are still in the good books. Khabib made sure to make that clear. Lady who comes to me with questions, I love how he tweets the same way he speaks. Lady who comes to me with question was very rude from very beginning. Even though I speak very decent English and can understand everything and agreed to assist, she still insists on removing me from my seat. What was the base for that? Racial, national, or other one? I'm not sure. Well, what else is there? But after 2 minutes of conversation, she called security, and I was deplaned from this aircraft. After 1.5 hours, I boarded another airline. One and left to my destination. I did my best to stay calm and respectful, as you can see on the video. But those crew members could do better next time and just be nice with clients. I just wish I knew the full story. Was it simply because she doesn't like Russians and she's like, this guy I can't trust, so get him the fuck off the plane? Is that it? Is it really that simple? And you have to think, well, it's gotta be, right? Because at the beginning of that video clip, he says, I know this is an emergency exit row. I said I am willing to help passengers exit the plane if need be. And I'm not disregarding anything you're saying. I'm trying to work with you. But she's like, nope. Get the fuck out of here, bro. I want to know why that happened. Why did she come to that? So then Frontier Airlines released a statement. And I actually haven't read this yet, so let's read it together for the first time ever. On January 11th, 2025, as Flight 4401 from Las Vegas to San Francisco was preparing for departure, a flight attendant initiated the customary briefing for exit row passengers. Customer Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was seated in an exit row, was asked multiple times if he was willing and able to assist in the event of an emergency. According to the flight attendant, Mr. Nurmagomedov did not respond, despite repeated attempts which placed him in a non-compliance with FAA requirements. The flight attendant informed Mr. Nurmagomedov that he could be moved to a different upgraded seat or exit the plane. Videos circulating on social media platforms do not capture this interaction and instead show a subsequent interaction after a gate agent entered the plane and reiterated the option to be reseated. As a result of the customer's initial unresponsiveness and repeated declinations of a seat change, he was asked to deplane per airline and FAA policy. The decision to deplane the customer was in no way related to his ethnicity, and we have refunded him and his traveling companions for their flights. Well, they say he did not respond despite repeated attempts. So the initial interaction makes it seem as though she was like, hey, you gotta be responsible if we come into an emergency situation, and he's just like sitting there, no answer. And then, after it started to get heated and once that bitch came on the plane, then he started to talk. Is that what happened? Who knows, dude? That's what I'm saying. We love Khabib. We love Khabib around here. But the problem with these video clips is you're seeing the context right in the middle of the action, right at the height of the action. That's when we slip in. We didn't get to see what happened prior. So maybe he was disrespectful prior to that video, but I don't know, dude. I don't know. Literally all we know right at the beginning of that video clip, he says he understands and agrees. So it's like when you have that context, you got to be on Khabib's side. But guess what, guys? It really doesn't fucking matter. Because this situation's over. Khabib is past it. Everyone else is past it. We're focused on UFC 311 right now. And that is and he is in Los Angeles. He's ready to go, and so is Islam. And if you didn't know already, I guess I'll reiterate. Khabib is Islam, and Umar's coach. And there's a third guy on there that trains at the same facility, the Eagle, whatever the fuck facility in Russia. So basically, Khabib has 3 of his fucking proteges, 3 of his underdogs, 3 guys that he trains are fighting on this card at UFC 311. 3 of them. Can you believe it? He has Islam, Umar, and Tajir. And I think Tajir is opening the night, right? Yeah. Ulam Bekov. Tajir Ulam Bekov. He's opening the night, dude. He's opening the night. And so I guess this kind of relates to it, I'll say. Because we're still going to talk about Khabib for a bit. He was a former fighter. He was a former champ. He regarded as maybe one of the best, undefeated. Retired at an early age because his father, who was his trainer, had passed away. Not only was his father his trainer, but his father trained all the guys at Eagle. What is that facility called? It's not Eagle. It's Eagles MMA. Eagles MMA. Okay? So when Khabib's father passed away, he felt like he couldn't continue without his father, so he did one more fight with Justin Gaethje, won, and then retired. Cried his eyes out, yada yada. You know the story. Okay? So then he transitioned from being the fighter to the coach. He took over his father's role. And ever since he has done that, although he feels he needs to do it, he always says, every time anyone asks him about coaching, he says he hates it. He uses the word hate. He says, I hate coaching, but I have to do it. I have to make a sacrifice for these guys because these are my brothers. And this is our life, and I need to dedicate everything that I can to these guys. And that is such a beautiful mindset. That is so great. And that's the reason why these Dagestanis are on top of the fucking world in MMA. When Khabib said in that other video a few weeks ago that Dagestan's level of MMA is far beyond Ireland's level of MMA, this is exactly what he's talking about. They dedicate their entire life to this. They don't do anything but this every single day. It's a sacrifice, and he uses the word sacrifice.
Describe this in one word: all about sacrifice. All about. People talk about discipline, but sometimes discipline is not enough. All about sacrifice. Like a couple days ago, it was I think maybe 1 week ago. One guy, he's from Mexico, he trained with us. We allowed him come. We don't allow anybody come to in our team because we have enough sparring partners. You can look anybody, champion. We don't need nobody. And he come to me, he's like, oh, in holidays, I want to go to Mexico. And I told him, brother, you're Mexico, your family, everybody have to wait. If you want to become best in the world, you have to be inside the room. Same thing. If you want to become the best, there is no family. If you want to spend time with your family, kids, okay, be with them. You're going to become best family man. I am not against family people. I just say, if you want to become best in this business, you have to sacrifice. Sacrifice your time, sacrifice your health, sacrifice everything what you have. And when I see how Islam, Umar, Usman, myself, and all other guys from our gym, I call it sacrifice. We sacrifice all our life to be the best in the world.
So, I got phlegm in my throat. I got cum in my throat. I can't even talk. So when you said, oh my God. I can't talk. Hold on, I gotta get this fucking cum in my throat. So when people say that they're sick of these Dagestani guys completely dominating the division. They're sick of these Dagestani guys having 0-loss record. They're sick of it, and they want to see Merab win because they're sick of it. They want to see Sarukian win because they're sick of this Eagles MMA crew completely dominating everything. It's like, okay, sure. I understand that philosophy. Yes, you're sick of it. But it's because of this sacrifice that these guys are so unbelievably good. They sacrifice their entire life and dedicate it only to fighting. So when you look at it like that, you say, okay, so what if all these other guys sacrifice their life? All these other fighters, that aren't from Dagestan, if they sacrifice their life, imagine where we'd be at in the UFC. Things would be it would be so high level crazy good. Then imagine pushing each other to those limits. You have the Dagestanis who push themselves to sacrifice and do everything they can. And then imagine if the Ireland crew sacrificed their life as much as the Dagestanis did, and then they came together. That'd be a constant battle of pushing each other to higher and higher lengths. Because right now, because the Dagestani sacrifice their lives so much, they're all undefeated. And I know Islam has that one loss on his record, that one loss from his debut fight in the UFC. But it's one of those things. It's one of those things where, although it is a loss, it was kind of an early stoppage. When you watch it, it kind of seems like it's an early stoppage. Because he goes down, but he's still defending himself. He's not knocked out at all. So that one always irritates me. And that's the problem. That's like one of the main problems of MMA in general, is the reffing. You got the judges, that's another problem, but it's the reffing. And mind you, I'm not saying I hate refs, and I don't even necessarily disagree with the decision that was made on Islam Makhachev's first fight. But what I'm saying is it's a very fucking hard job to be a referee in UFC or MMA in general. Because you literally have seconds to make a life-altering decision that it could change everything. Because the second you make that call, that's it. It's over. It's done. There's no going back. There's no appealing it. Well, maybe there is a way to appeal, but that doesn't happen. So you'll get mistakes. Everyone's human. So basically, when you look at these Eagle MMA guys, their record, they all have 0 losses. Except for Islam. Except for Islamophobia. But you know what? Even though we're watching these high-level Dagestani guys fight for the belt, we got 2 fucking belts that are on the line. And both Khabib's guys are on there. Islam Makhachev, who has the belt, and then Umar Nurmagomedov, who is fighting to get the belt against Merab. It's going to be fucking fantastic. But what really gets me jazzed up about this fight card, about UFC 311, is fucking Jiri Prochazka and Jamahal Hill. Dude, this shit's gonna be fucking wild. I am so stoked for this. Okay? This is gonna be the highlight of the night for me. Obviously, the main events are gonna be fucking crazy and awesome, and I'm for sure. that's going to be more than likely the best part of the night. But we all love Jiri. Everyone loves Jiri. So to see him come back now, to see him come back against Jamahal Hill, oh, it's going to be Krispy Kreme. And we need to talk about Jiri and Jamahal Hill, because I want to touch on some things about them that you may not know. All right? The hardcore MMA, the hardcore UFC fans, you guys already know. Okay? But there's people out there who are either just getting into UFC or have been in it and maybe don't know about this aspect of it. So I'm going to talk about it. So both Jiri and Jamahal Hill, they both had the light heavyweight title within few months of each other. They both had the title like back to back from each other, and they both had to vacate the belt because of an injury. Both of them. Okay? So basically, Jiri got the belt. How did it go again? Yeah, okay, yeah. No. Okay, wait, okay. Jiri had the belt. Okay, so then you got to cut that out, dude. Cut that out. We're going to cut here. Jiri had the belt. Jiri got injured and had to vacate the belt. Okay? So then Jamahal Hill went to fight for the vacated belt against Glover Teixeira. Okay? And then Jamahal won that fight, and Jamahal got the belt, the vacated belt. He got it. All right? But then Jamahal got an injury. Then Jamahal got an injury, and he had to vacate the belt. So then the belt was back fucking vacated again. Okay? So then the vacated belt was rescheduled for Jiri again and Alex. Okay? Alex Pereira. Now, mind you, Alex Pereira had just come over to light heavyweight after winning the middleweight title and vacating that to come to light heavyweight. And he had only had one light heavyweight fight at this point. It was he had one light heavyweight fight. He won it. And then the light heavyweight title was on the line again because Jamahal had to vacate it. Okay? So then the fight was scheduled for Jiri and Alex because they're like, okay, Jiri, here's your chance to get that belt back. And then Jiri had his match with Alex, and we all saw how that went down. And Jiri got defeated, and Alex got the title. All right? And then Jiri had another rematch with Alex Pereira, and he lost again. So that was his second chance to get that light heavyweight title, and he lost again. So now we're seeing Jiri fight Jamahal. Both those guys who had the title and had to both vacated within moments of each other are now fighting each other, which they would have ended up fighting each other anyway if either of them had kept that belt. But now they're fighting each other, and whoever comes out on top is still going to be like the next in line to at least be considered to go for the belt again. But when you look at this, it's like, okay, so let's say Jamahal Hill wins, all right? And by the way, I didn't even mention, we saw Jamahal Hill also go up against Alex at UFC 300. I think it was 300. Yeah. To try to win the belt back himself. And of course, he lost to Alex Pereira. So Jiri lost twice to Alex Pereira. Jamahal Hill lost once to Alex Pereira. These guys both had the belt in their hand. It was there. It was theirs. But they never even had a chance to even consider defending it because they both had an injury and both had to vacate it. It was lost. And now they're fighting each other. Okay, so if Jamal wins, Jamal will probably eventually have a second shot at Alex Pereira. And he's not going to win against Alex. As long as Alex keeps the belt, he's not going to win against Alex, all right? But then you got to look at it, it's like, okay, so then what happens to Jiri if Jamahal Hill wins? Then I feel like that's going to be the downfall of Jiri Prochazka, which just sucks to think about. Because it's like, you lost twice to Alex, you lost to Jamahal Hill. What's left for you, buddy? You know, you're going to be you're going to be on fight night cards, you're going to be on like prelims, like you're going to slowly decline. All right? So I think, like, if Jamal wins tonight, it's kind of a lose-lose for him. Because if Jamahal Hill, not tonight, but when Jamal wins, if Jamal wins, he's going to go up against Alex again, eventually. And he's still not going to win against Alex. So it's like, as long as Alex has the title, Jamal's not getting that back. All right, but then if Jamal loses, then it's his downfall, okay? But then it's like, if Jiri wins, does Jiri get that shot at the title again? Are they going to let him go in for fucking a third rematch against Alex? I don't know. But then it's like, okay, well, what if Alex really does decide to vacate that title and move up to heavyweight? Because Alex can for sure move up to heavyweight. We already know he's been talking about that. He's actually more comfortable as a heavyweight. And there's the opportunity for him to fight either Jones or Aspinall, depending on how that situation all plays out. So then if Alex fucks off to heavyweight, then that means now Jamal and Jiri both are going to be fucking scrambling to get that belt. There's so many fucking... Because of all this shit that's going down in the light heavyweight division, this Jiri and Jamal fight is going to determine so much of what's going to happen. Because, you know, we all want Jiri to win. But here's the thing. Yes, I'm voting for Jiri to win. But when you look at the situation, when you look at what's going on, when it comes to defense, Jiri's defense is minimal at best. It's abysmal. His defense is not great at all. So for him to go up against Jamahal Hill and to really think that, oh, is Jiri going to win against Jamahal Hill? I don't know. I really don't know, because Jamahal Hill's no slouch. But then when you look on paper at Jiri's career, Where's he at here? Let me see. So his record, his overall record, not just UFC, but his overall record is 30 wins, 5 losses, 1 no contest. All right? He's ranked number 2 in the light heavyweight division. Now, out of those 5 losses, out of those 5 losses, 2 of those losses were to Alex Pereira. The other losses weren't even from people in the UFC. He's only had 6 fights in the UFC, but he's never lost a fight in the UFC. The only people he's lost to in the UFC were from Alex Pereira. And the majority of his wins were from knockouts. 26 of his wins were from knockouts. He's only had 3 submissions. And then when you look at Jamahal Hill, he's never submitted anybody. Well, he's never won by submitting. He's only won by knockouts, but he's only had 7 knockout wins, and his record is 12-2. So his whole thing, both Jiri and Jamal, You're not going to see much grappling or wrestling or jiu-jitsu from these guys. They're going to be on their feet the whole time, slugging it out. Which means that there's a chance that Jiri can lose. There's a chance Yuri's going to lose. But you gotta hold out for the guy because of his experience and the fact that it is, him against Alex Pereira. It's like, okay, who the fuck's gonna beat Alex Pereira? That guy's unbeatable. But you gotta have hope that him up against Jamahal Hill, he has a chance. But when you look and listen to guys who are obviously experienced in MMA and know about MMA and know what they're talking about, it seems like the majority, if not everybody, agrees with me. They're like, yes, we want Jiri to win, but it's probably not going to happen. So this is one of those situations, which it happens almost every fucking UFC event. It's one of those situations where I want someone to win, but they're more than likely not going to. But if Jiri does win, I'm going to be so fucking stoked. I'm going to be so fucking stoked. So that's why I really wanted to touch on the Jiri and Jamahal Hill subject. Because not a lot of people are really talking about it. And so if you didn't know about what's going on here, now you know. There's all this mess of shit that has been going on over the past year and a half, 2 years in light heavyweight. And now we're seeing fucking Jiri and Jamahal go against each other. And by the way, I just need to say this. I've been seeing a lot of interviews leading up to this fight. And it's mostly people interviewing Jiri, which I fucking love. I think that's fantastic. But what I've noticed over the past while, when people interview fighters in the UFC, they always, every single time, they always ask about their next opponent. They always ask the question, oh, who do you think you're going to fight next after X fighter? Before the fighter has even fought the opponent that they're currently after. Okay? So for an example, Jiri is about to fight Jamahal Hill. So the interviews I was just watching, people are asking, hey, Jiri, who do you think you're going to fight after Jamahal Hill? And that question always gets asked every single time to almost every fighter. And every single time, no matter who it is, no matter what the situation, the fighter always responds with, I'm not answering that question because I'm not even thinking about that right now, and I don't want to think about that, so please move on. That is always the fucking response. And obviously I agree with that response. And of course that's the appropriate response for a multitude of reasons, but more specifically because they're in a frame of mind right now. They're so focused on this one opponent. They're not going to, if they start thinking about other opponents, that's going to lose their focus and dedication on the person they're fighting. So why the fuck do these interview people keep asking this question? Stop asking this question. It honestly drives me batty every time I hear it. I'm like, why do you, as soon as I hear that question about to come out, I'm like, stop. Why do you ask that question? Don't ask that question. That is a horrible question. But you hear it time and time again. Even on the press conferences, the media people will ask that question. And it's like, come on, guys. Have you not, realized by now that it doesn't matter what fighter you ask? These guys are high level. They know how to train their mind properly. Do you really think that they're going to answer? They're not going to answer that question. Figure it out. Stop asking that question. But they keep doing it. Oh yeah, the other thing we were going to talk about, which I skipped right over, which I think is so cool, the fact that Venom and UFC is allowing custom shorts now for every main event. I think that's That's so fucking cool that they're finally doing that. So, let's take a look at. So these are Merab's. These are Merab's custom shorts. Or no, sorry, this is Islam's. I fucked that up. This is Islam's shorts. Basically, it's like the mountains in the Dagestan region, and I don't know what this is. A sword, I guess. Which these shorts are fucking awesome. Sometimes the custom shorts are ugly and trashy, but I think these are really cool. Okay. And then here's Merab's. These are kind of cool too. It's got like the Georgian flag colors. It's got the Georgian flag cross. And you can see like a horse and stuff in here. And some other stuff. These are pretty cool too. And it says something here. Which there's a video of him actually describing what that is and what that says. At first it's like he doesn't know what it says, but let's just watch.
Oh my god, I'm excited for this, bro. Thank you, UFC and Venom, for this. This is beautiful. Watch. And I love this is you know what this means? So it's it says,
He can't read it. He can't read it.
I don't know, it's okay, I'm gonna use to translate to
Can you,
Jobs სიცოცხლესთან ნაძრახსა სიკვდილი სახელოვანი. So a glorious death is better than miserable life. Yeah, that's what it says.
That's awesome.
pretty cool.
Let's go, Chen.
They look a little tight, maybe? I don't know. No, I guess they're okay.
Wow, it'll be good.
Go and steal.
I'm so happy
And
I can
steal.
fight this Saturday and I can retire and I will be happy. You know, this means a lot. This is really represents my country. That's why I fighting for. That's why I start fighting, and to have a custom short and represent Georgia in UFC. This means everything for me, and I'm so grateful for UFC, and I'm so happy that I came this part, and love this short. Thank you, Venom. Thank you, UFC, and thank you, Georgia. Let's go.
You're welcome.
Oh my God.
You're welcome. I made those shorts myself. Okay, and then here's Khabib. Or, sorry, fuck. Here's Islam getting his shorts.
Same as always, right? The same one you always use.
Those are nice. I like those. I wonder what goes on with the process of how they, like, decide,
Wow.
you know, what the shorts are going to be.
Dagestan mountain, it's called Papaku.
Like, do they sit down with them and be like, how do you want this to look? Or do they just get, like, a brief description and kind of go from there?
Knife, I don't. And meç как будет, Rizwan?
Sword.
This is a
This
sword.
one, dagger.
Dagger.
Islam, do you design those?
Yeah.
А ну-ка возьми, дай я
We
сфоткаю.
will make this with Rizwan.
We will make this with run. I don't know what that means. So yeah, that was kind of cool. That's really it of what's going on. I think the press conference is tonight for me, which I'm stoked about, and then there is like the what do they call it? The weigh-in morning show on Friday. If you're wanting to get into UFC, like, follow all this stuff because it gets you more hyped. It gets you more hyped for when the actual event happens, and it also gives you a lot more information to go off of. So watch the press conference. Well, I guess it's done for you now, but you can rewatch it. And then the morning show, which is every Friday before the events. Great. It's got DC, Laura Sanko, that other dude, I can't remember his name, but yeah, it's just a fun little thing to, like, get you more hyped. Every little thing that you can watch leading up to the actual event, it helps. It helps making it more exciting. So right now we're gonna jump into the. Let me just move this over here for a second. We're gonna jump into the fight predictions. Okay? And I'm going to blast through these pretty quick. I'm not going to like drag it out. But from here on out, now that we're doing this UFC countdown edition of the Dynamite Gizmo podcast, I started doing like more in-depth research on each fighter and each fight so that I can make my decision more clear and accurate. Okay? So take a look at this screen. You can see how this works. We got the early prelims, the prelims, and the main card. And again, I created this. Like, this is my creation. The only thing I didn't do was actually take pictures of the fighters. Everything else I created. And the way this works is it's a fight prediction sheet. Okay? So it gives you the full stats of the fighters. It's got their fight record, win, lose, draw. It's got the name of their country flag, their rank, their Vegas betting odds, their nickname, obviously a picture of them, their name, the weight class, and the order in which the fights are held. All right? So basically, you print these sheets off, you hand them out to your friends, you check off vote for whichever fighter you're voting for, and then whoever wins, you just check that off. Okay? There's also an option for draw. If it's a draw, you check that off. Okay? Even if the people you're hanging out with don't understand UFC or don't understand fighting, they can still have fun with this and play along and vote for fights based off of everything they see here. They see the record, they see the betting odds, they see the country they're from, they see their rank, they see what they look like. They have something to go off of. So that's why I wanted to create these, so that even people who don't know about UFC, they can still have fun with this. So link is in the description. Click the Google Drive link, download this shit. Okay, let's get into it. All right? So for the first fight of the night, we've got Tagir Ulanbekov versus Clayton Parker. Now, this one's a pretty easy one for me to choose. Tagir is obviously, like I said earlier, he's one of Khabib's underdogs. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming he would train directly under Khabib because it's at the Eagles MMA, and I'm pretty sure Khabib is like the only coach there, but maybe there's more. But either way, if he's part of that regime, not only am I voting for him because of that, but I also just want to. I'm voting for Umar and Islam in the main event, so I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it in that realm. So, whoops. So vote for Ulanbekov. All right. Let me just do something here. Okay. Second fight of the night. We've got Ricky Tercios and Bernard Sopai. Yes, that's pronounced Sopai. I looked it up. It's pronounced Sopai. So, Ricky only won 2 out of the 3 fights that he's had in the UFC. Although he has a 13-4 record, he's only won. Well, I shouldn't say he's only. He has won 2 out of the 3 fights that he has fought in the UFC. He did fight against Rosas Jr., and that's the one that he lost against. So that one makes sense because Rosas fucking chihuihuis. That guy's fucking awesome. But Bernard, he's had 7 first-round finishes, and they've all been knockouts. He's only had 1 fight in the UFC, and he did lose it. But this Albanian boy, I feel like he's going to take it. So I'm going to go for Bernard on this one. The next one, we've got Rinya Nakamura and Muin Gafurov. So this one, Rinya has 5 first round finishes. He's also undefeated, 9-0. He's had the majority of his wins were by knockout. Gafurov, he He also went up against a Nurmagomedov, Saeed Nurmagomedov, and he lost against him, but that's understandable. Like I'm saying, all these Nurmagomedovs, they're dominating everybody. So yeah, you can't really hold that against him. He has had more first round finishes than Rinya, and he's had 10 knockouts. He's got a higher his record is 19-6. So he's had more wins, but he's also had 6 losses. His 3 fights in the UFC, he's only won 1 of them, which, doesn't really account for everything. But when it comes to people who are undefeated, I like to keep the votes in that favor. So even though Muin Gafurov has a good record, and he has a good chance of possibly winning this, I'm still gonna go for Nakamura, just because I like to see undefeated records stay undefeated. Now the next fight, Karol Rosa versus Ailin Perez. A lot of people want to go for Karol on this one, but I really like Ailin Perez, okay? And she loves to twerk every time she wins, which is kind of cool. And if you look at Ailin's record, even though Karol has had more fights in the UFC and won the majority of them, Karol has had 10 fights in the UFC. Ailin has only had 5 fights in the UFC, but Ailin won 4 out of those 5. Karol won 7 out of those 10. So similar records in that regard. Karol also has 18-6, and she's ranked 9, whereas Ailin has a record of 11-2, and she's ranked 13. But Ailin's first loss in the UFC was a disqualification. So she is almost undefeated in terms of all the fights that she has had in the UFC. If it wasn't for that disqualification, she could have won that. And when you look at the way she fights, she's fucking rising up in the ranks, and she's doing very well. So even though on paper she looks like she wouldn't be the winner, I think I'm going to vote for her on this one. I want to see her rise up. Okay? Wait a minute. I got my shit backwards here. What? Is that really the way this goes? Okay, I got it backwards. Okay, so Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. Both great guys. Diego has fucking... Both these guys are pretty... this is going to be a great fucking fight. This is a great matchup. So Diego, he fought Gamrot. He fought Poirier. He fought Daruish, who is on this card as well. Rebecca Pettis. Although the majority of those guys that I listed, he lost against. But he's been around. He's fought a lot. But so has Dawson. And Dawson's no slouch either. Really, the only major loss that Dawson has had against was against Bobby Green. And some people hate Bobby Green, but he's say what you will, that guy can fight, or at least he used to. But one of the biggest factors about this is the fact that Diego has been around for a long time. Diego is 40, and Dawson, even though Dawson looks just as old, or if not older than Ferreira, he's only 30. And Dawson fucking kicks ass, dude. He's got a 22-2 record, and I guess 1 non-decision, or no contest. But he's had 13 fights in the UFC, and he's won 11. The guy... But he's known, you wouldn't think it by looking at him, but he's known for his submissions. He's had 13 submission wins and only 5 knockout wins. So I think I'm going to give it to Dawson on this one. and the fact that he's ranked 15, which I guess the rankings really don't mean much, but that's just another factor to consider. Okay, so then we've got Zachary Reese versus Azamat Bekoev. How do you say it? Bekoev? I guess. So this is Azamat's debut into the UFC. He's been around. His record is 18-3. Zachary Reese is 8-1. But Zachary Reese has finished 7 of 8 wins, all in the first round. His only loss in the UFC, because he's only had 3 fights in the UFC, his only loss was to Cody Brundage. So it's like, okay, fair. Cody Brundage is fucking awesome. As for this Azamat guy, I'm not even really familiar with him. But I'm also not that familiar with Reese either. And I also just need to point out here, I'm noticing, it says even, and even for these Vegas betting odds. All these Vegas betting odds are completely different than what I'm seeing right now. So that'll all change. That's all going to be updated by the time you download and print off this card, just so you know. Anyway, so like I said, I'm not really familiar with Reese and for sure not Bekoev because it's his debut. But looking into it, I'm going to go with Bekoev. Just because he's Russian, and we're just going to play into that. Dude, what is going on here? I think I've got my cards all messed up. Something's not right here. I got my things all messed up. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay, I got it. I'm back. Okay. So, Jailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. Both fucking legends. I don't really even have to touch on this at all. Because we know Jailton Almeida. The guy is unbelievable. 15 first-round finishes. Has won 16 of his last 17 fights. Won against Lewis, Rosenstruck, Romanov. He's had 8 fights in the UFC, won 7 of them. He's got a 21-3 record. He's ranked number 6. The guy's known for his submissions. He's Brazilian, obviously. Sergey's great too, but I'm not. You can't sleep on Jailton, okay? And same with this next fight. We've already talked about Peyton Talbot in the last episode. He's the prospect as, considered to be the breakthrough fighter of this year, which I totally agree with. Just like that other guy that we saw, what's his name? Nakamura, he also has a 9-0 record. But it's not just the fact that he has a 9-0 record, it's the fact that he beats guys so easily. And they're all knockouts. He's only had 1 submission win. The rest are all knockouts. He's had 3 fights in the UFC. He's won all 3, and it's going to continue to go that way. And if you look at these odds, although they've changed, like I said, by the time you see this, I'm sure it's still somewhere similar to this. The odds of him winning are so high. So if you're going to bet on a fight, this is the fight that's like, I would say is guaranteed. Talbot's going to take it. So then we've got Bogdan Guskov versus Billy Elekana. Right? Is that how you say it? This is Billy's debut into the UFC as well. So we've got another debut fight. This one's kind of weird to me because when you look at Bogdan, or I should say Guskov, he's ranked number 13 in the UFC. He's had 3 fights. He's won both of them. His record is 16-3. 14 knockouts, 2 submissions. One of the other major factors about Guskov is the fact that he's had 7 wins in 87 seconds or less. This guy, it's crazy. This guy can dominate, and he has been dominating. And he's legit for real. But then you look at this Billy Elakana guy. It's his debut into the UFC. His record is 7-1-1. He hasn't really done anything significant. He has 3 knockout wins, 1 submission. I don't really understand this matchup. I don't know why. Not only is he's the featured prelim fighting against this ranked guy who has really shown himself to be a contender. Like, how did this matchup happen? How did he get this position on the card? Whatever. I'm giving it to Bogdan on this one. It just seems, this one also seems like a given. But who knows? Maybe this guy will fucking surprise us. Okay? Now we're on the main card. And I love all these fights. But like I said, this whole card is fucking stacked. Like, literally right from the beginning. It's fucking awesome. This is a great card. So, we've got, to start off the main card, Kevin Holland versus RDR. RDR had his debut already. He's only had 1 fight, but he won it. But look at his record, 18-2. The guy is on a 2-fight winning streak. He's damn near the same age as Holland. I know he looks a bit older. Maybe, he kind of looks, they're, RDR is 34, Kevin Holland is 32. But Kevin Holland's fucking awesome. He's actually, and if you didn't know, Kevin Holland is actually tied for the most UFC wins in a calendar year. He's had 5 consecutively in 1 year in 2020. 14 knockout wins, 8 submission wins. His record is 26-12. He's had 24 fights in the UFC. And I wanted to check like how many of those were wins, but the UFC fucking website's all messed up, and sometimes they don't show all the wins. Dana White, get your shit together. But when you look at Kevin Holland on paper, you're like, oh fuck, this guy is, oh my god, he's so good. And clearly he is. But look at RDR though. You can't sleep on RDR. 18-2. That's a clean record. Holland has had 12 losses. So this was a tough decision for me. I was really on the fence for a while, but I think I'm going to go with RDR on this one. And then another fucking fantastic fight. Beneil Dariush and Renato Moicano. Both fucking legends of the sport. Okay? Dariush has fought Gamrot, Ferguson, Fiera, which is that other guy that we saw on the prelims. This guy, or sorry, the early prelims. This guy here. Jim Miller, Sarukian. He's even fought fucking Armin Sarukian and Oliveira. Okay? But then Moicano, he's fought Saint-Denis, Turner, Cub Swanson, Stevens, Ortega, Aldo, the Korean Zombie, Dos Anjos. They've both been around. They both know what's up. And they both kind of have almost a similar record, too. Moicano, 20 wins, 5 losses. Dariush, 22 wins, 6 losses. They both also have 1 no contest. Moicano has had 17 fights in the UFC. Dariush has had 23 fights in the UFC. They both have similar knockout. Well, Moicano has had 2 knockout wins, 10 submission wins. Dariush has had 5 knockout wins, 8 submission wins. They're kind of a close matchup, and they're closely ranked. So this one was also kind of tough for me because they're both fucking legends, but I'm going for Moicano. That's our boy there. And we already talked about Prohaska and Hill. You know how I feel about that already. We already went through their whole thing, so we're not going through that again. And you know I'm going for Prohaska, but there might be a chance. And I hate to throw things out there like it's probably going to go this way, but you know how it is. Hill might take this. Okay, the co-main event. Merab against Umar. We know Umar trains under Khabib. You know, he's his cousin. They have the same last name. So what can I say? He's got an undefeated record, 18-0, which is crazy. He's had 6 fights in the UFC. Obviously, he's 18-fight winning streak. He's never lost. Rank 2 in the division. Most of his wins are by submission. But Merab's no one to sleep on either. Okay? Yes, he's a goofy fighter, but he's 18-4, 13 fights in the UFC. He's on an 11-fight win streak right now. I don't know if you know that, but Merab is on an 11-fight win streak right now. He's won against O'Malley, Cejudo, Peter Yan, Jose Aldo. He's good at wrestling. He can wrestle. He knows what's up. So to say that Merab doesn't have a chance here is not 100% correct. But you know how I feel about it? I'm sticking with Nurmagomedov. And then, of course, the main event, Islam Makhachev, Arman Tsarukyan. These guys have fought before. And if you didn't know, Arman Tsarukyan's debut into the UFC was against Makhachev. Arman has won against Oliveira. He actually won against Dariush and Gamrot. He's got a very clean record too, 22-3. He's had 11 fights in the UFC. 9 were by knockouts, 5 by submissions. But then there's Islam. I mean, Islam, we can basically say he's got a fully clean record. You know, I would like to say it's 26 it should be 27-0, but that one loss. But he's 26-1. He's had 15 fights in the UFC. He's on a 14-fight winning streak. And they're mostly by submissions. He has had 5 knockout wins, but obviously it's Makhachev. He's going to submit you. So he's got 12 submission wins. He's won against Tsarukyan, Hooker, Bobby Green, Oliveira, Volk twice, and that's how he got the belt. He fought Poirier recently, won against that. And like I said earlier, his debut fight into the UFC was that loss. And that was a poor decision, I feel like. So, just based off of everything, even though Arman did lose against Islam in his debut, that was way back in the day. Tsarukyan is no one to sleep on. He's so good, and he's come a long way. So, you know, both the main event and the co-main event, I wouldn't be surprised either way. But, like I said, I'm sticking with the Khabib crew, so I'm going with Makhachev. That is my full fight prediction, actually thought out and planned out this time, and it is being locked in. And one other thing I'm disappointed in that I need to mention is the fact that Johnny Walker is not fighting on this card anymore. I am so disappointed because I love Johnny Walker so much, and I want to see him rise back up. But I just wanted to touch on that. Love you, Johnny Walker. God, I can't wait to see him come back. He was originally supposed to be. Anyway, so that's everything. That's it. That's everything that I need to mention. That's everything you need to know. Remember, you want this fight prediction card. And for every main number event, these will be available in that Google Drive. So but don't check until the Friday before the fight. I usually don't upload them until the Friday before the fight, because sometimes even the Saturday, but they will always be up by the Saturday before the fights happen, because the Vegas betting odds change so much. So I like to try to get them, finalized as much as I can before I put them out for release. Anyway, that's it. That's everything. I'm so stoked for this weekend. I can't fucking wait. That's it for this episode of the Dynamite Gizmo podcast, UFC Countdown Edition. Remember, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video, leave a comment as to what your thoughts are on this event and who you think's going to win or whatever. Who cares? And that's it. Bye.